Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. And heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And check out the Mike Wagner Show merchandise like t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more. Makes great gift ideas for any kind of occasion. Just go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, including books by me and Molson Zia like Missing Ones, and also some t-shirts, also some pop sockets, phone cases, hoodies, and more. Go to the Me and Molson Zia store on Amazon or Amazon.com/Me and Molson Zia. Also, make sure you give generously to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, support us on Anchor FM/support and PayPal. Make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who is an author and a science fiction writer, and he's based out of North Carolina, and he's got a great history here. He's been a writer, producer, and director of The Ultimate Case and The Project, and he's from Buffalo, New York, now in the North Carolina area. He spent 30 years in higher education and traveled through Europe, and he was the Department Chair for Mass Communication, Methodist University in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And he's also got some amazing books out there. We'll be talking about the Turing Files series. He also experienced with the Rails projects and more. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studio somewhere in beautiful North Carolina, the very multi-talented author and science fiction writer, Paul Joseph. Paul, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Paul. I mean, you just got an amazing resume out there. You've spent 30 years in higher education. You grew up in Buffalo, New York. Now you're in North Carolina, and you travel through Europe, and you're Department Chair for Mass Communication at Methodist University in Fayetteville, North Carolina. You also had some previous book writing experience, like with Through the Fold series, like Homesick, Splashdown, Infinity Machine, and a lot more, Window in the Sky. And also, we'll be talking about the Turing Files series, which includes Romo's Journey, Romo's World. You got the Rails project. I mean, I just don't know where to start. But before we get to any or all those books, tell us how I first got started, Paul.
I'm sorry, could you say that last part again?
I said, tell us how you first got started.
Oh, how I first got started. Okay, well, basically writing. I've been doing that all my life. Basically, I actually wrote a novel in high school.
Oh, wow.
But it was never actually published. And I'm glad, to be honest with you. But I did write it. And I wrote it by hand in my hammock in the basement. Mm-hmm. And I didn't actually finish it. So that's probably the best thing I can say about that one.
Nice. Okay. And what actually inspired you to get into writing?
Well, probably because I started watching TV. I started reading. Basically, I love narratives. I love stories. And I love science fiction stories, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I will say that one of the things I discovered in school, elementary school, grade school, middle school, is that they never want you to write anything fun. They want you to write essays, they want you to write reports, but they don't want you to write fiction. And so that's why I started writing fiction, because that was the only way I could do it. And oddly enough, in 7th grade, when everybody was making fun of typing class, I actually learned to type, and I started writing my stories that way. Because it was a whole lot more efficient. I can type a lot faster than I can write. Mm-hmm. But then in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got started.
Mm-hmm. And plus, I was thinking about typing class as well, too. It actually was essential. I'm sure you beat out all the girls in typing class. And, of course, with my profession, it was me and quite a few sports guys from our school paper. We had to learn how to type. And one of them asked us, "Are we going to be secretaries?" I says, "No, we're sports writers." But I said, "We might hire a secretary one day." And they all laughed. And we ended up doing pretty well. And we were pretty well liked. And they all understood that we had a profession to do. And, of course, in any business, whether it's broadcasting, writing, or anything like that. And, speaking of writing, that you talked about writing a novel in high school. Who are some of your favorite writers growing up?
Growing up, I liked Arthur C. Clarke. I liked Heinlein. I actually read a lot of Heinlein. Later on, I discovered Philip K. Dick. And I was a Dinar Kunz fan when everybody else was a Stephen King fan. I'll say that.
Huh. That's interesting.
And to this day, I still actually prefer his style in terms of the, I guess you call it thriller genre. And he also dabbles in science fiction, at least to some degree.
Really? That's interesting. A lot of people prefer Stephen King. And what's the difference, like, in your opinion? what does I probably have to say is what does Dean Koontz have that Stephen King don't? So what's the comparison on that?
Actually, that's a good question. And first of all, let me say I'm not knocking either of them. I think they're both great writers. If I would say that Stephen King, he will write about, in some ways, a little bit gory for gory's sake, and some of his stories go a little bit far for me, I will say. Now, Dinar Koontz, he can do the same thing, but the one thing I'll say about some of his writings is that you cannot forget it. I mean, he will describe situations of human beings doing things that you can't really forget. Mm-hmm. And so I'll say that the thriller genre, that's not what I write. But one thing I also like about Dinar Koontz is he does a little bit more science fiction than Stephen King did. A lot of his horror was science fiction based. It wasn't set in space, but maybe set in new worlds where VR technology takes over the world and things like that. And he was ahead of his time in some of those things.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of time, how many novels has he done involving, time machine, time travel, or anything like that? And how many books has he done? And also, what's his concept or version of time travel?
Well, Dinar Koontz, my favorite book that he wrote was Lightning. Mm-hmm. And that was all about time travel, with a very interesting twist there. I can't say I know exactly how many books he wrote with time travel in it because he's written a lot, since I was following him in my earlier days. But I will say that one definitely stands out in my mind. Mm-hmm. I'll also say that the movies based on Stephen King books were typically very good. The movies based on Dinar Koontz books really destroyed the stories. And that's not Koontz's fault. That's the movie industry.
Or producers and directors or actors, whoever's behind the scenes and everything. That's totally understood. And of course, just another thought I had too. If you were asked to time travel, would you do it? And yes, where would you go and why?
Okay, where would I travel in time? Well, I would cover the gambit. First of all, I'd visit historical events. I would definitely. I don't think I'd go into the future. I don't think I'm brave enough to do that. But there are aspects of the era that I grew up in I might like to revisit, for example. And I would definitely like to, to be honest, I'd like to hear my grandfather play the bandoneon because I know that he did. And I kind of like to be in the background somewhere listening to that and getting to know people that I've read about and care about that I didn't actually get to see, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing as well, too. And we'll talk more about your books, also your travels through Europe, and also being a department chair in mass communication in Fayetteville in just a minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing. By Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. And heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for some great gift ideas like t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, coming soon to the MikeWagnerShow.com. And for more great gift ideas, including t-shirts, hoodies, and all kinds of goodies, including books by me and Motion Zia. Go to Amazon.com/me and Motion Zia and check out the Me and Motion Zia store and make sure you order today. Also support us on Anchor FM as well as PayPal and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you give generously as well to keep the program running. We're here with author, science fiction writer Paul Joseph here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we talk about your books like the Turing Files series, Romo's Journey, Romo's World, and the Rails Project, the more are some of your experience. You spent some time in Buffalo, New York. You're from there. You spent 30 years in higher education. You traveled to Europe, and you're also Department of Chair for Mass Communications at Methodist University in Fayetteville. And, tell us about your journey going from Buffalo over to North Carolina.
Okay, well, I was born in Buffalo, but I left there at a very young age. Even though I actually liked the place, it's a very nice place. In fact, I discovered my house was still there. Mm-hmm. Actually moved to Massachusetts and spent most of my younger years there. Then, when I was in the video field in Boston, the Boston area, I went to graduate school and I got the opportunity to teach in the Netherlands. And that was how I got over to Europe. And I was there for over a year. Wow. And then, pursued teaching in back in Massachusetts for a while, freelancing, and then went out to Fremont, Nebraska, which is a rather, kind of a roundabout way of getting to North Carolina. But I spent about 25 years in North Carolina since then, which I've really fallen in love with this place. And, this is where I do most of my work. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I've got a lovely wife and it's my son, Ian.
That's amazing. I mean, you have been such a great journey. And how'd you get involved with higher education?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I got into higher education so I'd have time to write because I wanted the lifestyle. Because most jobs that I've worked before higher education, the priorities are, getting the job done, getting it done fast, making a lot of money. And working long hours. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's a lot of good there. But I've noticed that those who work in higher education, they're given a little bit more leeway to be creative. In other words, yes, you got to get the job done. You got to get the students taught. You got to get the tests graded. But you are also expected to be creative. And if you do a project simply for the sake of learning something, it's not a waste of money. Mm-hmm. In fact, one of my former college presidents said that he can see a person sitting down reading a book and think that that person is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And so that's what got me into the idea of higher education, so that I would be able to pursue my writing and other creative endeavors, filmmaking and things like that. And honestly, it's worked out. That aspect of it has worked out quite well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of projects and everything else, you're a writer, producer, and director of The Ultimate Case and also The Project. And tell us about those two.
Well, The Ultimate Case, those are both based on short stories I wrote earlier. The Ultimate Case is based on the idea of the devil needing a lawyer. Simply put, the devil wants to argue his case before God. And so he finds a Christian lawyer. There's a lot of religious undertones to the movie. But it was actually shot twice. We had some problems with the actors the first time around, but it's a very learning experience. Being a video producer, you'll find that what you think is going to be easy is usually hard, and what you think is hard is going to be easy. For example, I needed a jail cell for one of the scenes, and that was easy. I thought that was going to be hard, but I got it within 10 minutes. I just called somebody I knew in the Justice Department at the school, and she called somebody she knew in the courthouse. It's like, you got it. But I also needed a trailer, just a broken down trailer, to shoot a scene in. And that cost me $175 and took about 3 weeks to find.
Wow.
And in doing the project, I needed a funeral home. So basically I had to get on the phone and call the funeral home and say, would it be all right if we use your parlor, for a few hours? And by the way, you got a coffin we could borrow? And we don't have any money to give you. This is just going to be, for the sake of doing it. And we got it.
Amazing.
But at the same time, I needed a hospital gurney. That took me a month. It took me a month to find a hospital gurney. I went to, you could try calling hospitals and say, can we borrow a gurney? Nope, not a chance. Called ambulances. I even went to junkyards, looking at ambulances in junkyards, hoping there'd be one left there. And it ended up we had one in the school that I didn't even know about. And so that was anticlimactic, but we did in fact get one. So wow. Producing is a very interesting thing. I'll say that much.
I was going to mention about the funeral home as well, too. And it's a good thing they didn't tell you to drop dead or anything like that. That's what I was thinking.
Well, interestingly enough, my department chair at the time played the corpse.
Really?
So that was another interesting conversation because we wanted him. And so I said, would you mind, playing a dead guy, lying in a coffin? Not only did he do it, he did it very well. I don't know what kind of makeup he used, but he really looked dead. And it was just perfect. Part of the thing, he's got to grab the edge of the coffin and open his mouth and say, I see you.
Boy, that's a pretty deadly role. I got to say that. So, oh my goodness. And of course, you also wrote some books as well, too, like, Through the Fold series. You also had Homesick, Splashdown, Infinity Machine, and Window in the Sky, Web of Life, and Marker Stone. I mean, just a lot of books out there to kick off the series. And tell us about those and your first series, Through the Fold.
Okay, that started with Homesick. Technically, Marker Stone is the prequel. So okay. Marker Stone is a short introduction. But I actually wrote Homesick when I was in Nebraska. And I was just leaving the job, and I was actually downloading a list of job prospects. And I remember I knew that it was going to take 20 minutes because we were in dial-up back then.
I remember.
And so I said, what am I going to do for 20 minutes? And I figured I'd write the first chapter of that story I wanted to write. And, the next day, I had 20 more minutes. I wrote the second chapter. And by the third day, I was really into this. And so then from then on in, every night I had to write one chapter. And by the time I left for North Carolina, I had the completed manuscript.
Wow.
And it didn't actually take long to write it. And of course, I went through a lot of rewrites since then. But that was definitely an experience.
Mm-hmm. And
just
go ahead.
One thing I'll say in addition is that when I thought that was going to be a standalone book, you're talking about the series. And so when I knew that I finished it, I leaned back. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, I already had the next two books.
Huh. That's interesting. And those books are?
That would be Web of Life and Splashdown.
That is interesting. And tell us more about those two as well, too. And it's a good thing you probably hit the pillow because you got two great books out there.
Well, it's certainly, I let the audience make their own decision, but I definitely enjoyed writing them. But Web of Life was basically a continuation. The idea, the characters Sally Buds and Ian Merrifield, they were having their space adventures. And in Web of Life, they go into a realm they couldn't have expected. It's basically, instead of going out in space where you see a night sky, they were flying around in this endless sky. Mm-hmm. It was literally, they were flying through an atmosphere and they couldn't see the edge of it, which doesn't make any logical sense. One of the very few things that my father says was possible within the realm of physics based on how I described it. Usually he told me that my ideas could never happen, but that was what he actually agreed with, and I expected him to not like that.
Oh my gosh.
And in Splashdown, that was where I first introduced my favorite aliens called the Psyches. And they're basically large insect-like creatures who don't have lungs, and so they talk by singing like crickets sing, where they move their body parts around and they simulate a human voice, but they do it well enough that we hear it as a human voice. And they're basically a hive mentality, and so they have a memory crystal that they carry with them that includes their personality, and that's how they were able to adapt to being individuals.
Memory crystal. That's interesting. And how does the memory crystal work? It's like, that's a concept that is totally new to me. It's like, and they carry us around and they pass it around. How does that memory crystal work in this book?
Well, one of the characters, Etup, who was a Sykes, he would have what's called an eye hand. And so they have many appendages, most of which look kind of like insect appendages. But the eye hand is a grasping appendage, and it's basically covering what looks like a pearl. And that's his memory. And he writes to that and reads from it as he's doing other things. And if a Sykes wants to pass on information, they may actually have the equivalent of a kind of a book, which would include one of those crystals that they can touch and get information. In fact, that became a very important part of the story because Sally had to encode some information that she knew Etup would be able to read, and she had to do this from 1,300 years in the past.
Wow.
She had to leave it for him in some way.
Wow. That is so amazing. And where can we find a good portion of books at?
Well, I have a BookBub address. Basically, BookBub, if you go there and then just type Paul J. Joseph, you can get to my profile. I am on Amazon, Paul J. Joseph on Amazon. And if you type the names of the books, any one of them, that they should show up. Or particularly if you type Ramo or Raelas, those are good keywords for that series. Okay. And I got my website is pauljosephbooks.com. And so that's where I keep all the latest information. Okay. And of course, I'm on Facebook.
That's amazing too. And we'll talk about the Turing File series along with the Rayless Project and more. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's Zia of Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with author and science fiction writer Paul Joseph after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with author, science fiction writer Paul Joseph here on the Mike Wagner Show, and talked about his amazing projects, including being a writer, producer, director of The Ultimate Case and The Project, and went from Buffalo, New York, spent 30 years in higher education, traveled through Europe, and in the Department of Chair, Mass Communication at Methodist University in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We talked about some of his books, like Through the Fold series and Marker Stone, Web of Life, and more. And now let's get to the two series, which has been big here for Paul Joseph. We talk about on the Mike Wagner Show. Let's talk about the Rayless Project, including the Rayless Verdict, and also and more. And tell us about Rayless Project.
Okay, well, Rayless Project is actually part of the Turing Files because that was named after Alan Turing, who was a computer scientist back in the 1940s. And he was responsible for breaking the German Enigma code. And he came up with something called the Turing test, which would be a way of determining whether or not somebody you're talking to is human or mechanical or robotic or in some artificial. And so that's basically how this gets started. And so the two of the main characters in the series are robots. One is Ramo and the other is Relas. And they are basically brothers. They don't know each other at the beginning of the story. Ramo arrives first. He is in Ramo's journey in Ramo's world. And essentially what he is a robonaut. And if you've ever studied the International Space Station, they do actually have something called a robonaut, which is a way an astronaut can go outside without going outside. It's kind of like a robotic creature that mimics human motion. And so you can handle it remotely and use it to do things. And so the basic idea is what happens if one of those gets a huge upgrade and suddenly comes to life. And that's basically what Ramo was. He just basically woke up in the holding, or not a holding cell, but a cargo bay, and looked around and said, how did I get here? Who am I? And his hardwired instructions told him that he had to stay away from humans because somebody was after him. And it happened to be that the ship was going to Mars. And so he basically went to the captain and requested asylum. And so he ended up helping the colonists, and he became a friend of the captain's daughter.
Wow.
And so, and ultimately he left the colony in search of something that he had to find on the ice cap of Mars. And, after the second book, that's kind of where we leave it. He's heading off into the ice. Now, the Relas Project is the same character, and this time he is given exactly what his job description is. His programmer, a fellow named Rittenhouse, basically says, you are intended to be a lawyer. Because what he wanted was a justice machine who would be completely objective, who could never be bribed, and who could never be threatened. And so Relas, you couldn't threaten him with money or anything like that because he has no needs. And you couldn't threaten him with death because he has no reason to fear death. He doesn't consider himself to be alive necessarily in the strictest sense. And then so he was, taught to basically recognize faces and to litigate cases. And both of these robots are up against a villain known as the Pace Project.
Pace Project, okay.
And so the ultimate villain in both the series, the thing that holds them together, is you got this organization that wants to control traffic, but you find out they really want to control people. So in the Relas verdict, they're living in a city literally run by Pace, where you're assigned a house near where you work, and the color of your furniture is going to be based on what rank you are, that sort of thing.
Oh, really?
So one of the people that Pace particularly didn't like was this guy that just sold sandwiches at construction sites.
Oh my God!
Because he refused to drive by the GPS. You are 2 seconds late to this job, and they wrote him a ticket. And it's like, the people don't care. They're just buying sandwiches.
Even if you're hungry, they still write you a ticket if you're off by 2 seconds. Unbelievable. That takes you extra time to put on, say, like extra mustard, extra ketchup, or maybe hold the lettuce or pickle tomatoes or something.
Well, the idea was control. He wasn't bowing to their every whim. And so ultimately Relas had to help him out, because if he prosecuted him based on those rules, he would be legitimizing that sort of treatment. So he turned out to be the ultimate enemy of Pace, because he believed in actual justice and not the letter of the law.
And what you're talking about Relas as well, too, being programmed for justice, and you say, like, with actual justice, and how would that compare with the actual justice to the legitimate justice, as you talked about? If I'm correct, it's like, what would be the difference? Like, is it the actual justice that is in the conscience of railists, or is it like the legitimate, like, the like a rule book or a set of rules that just like, lists almost like the 10 Commandments or Constitution?
Well, actually, it's more like he was programmed with the spirit of the law, like the idea of the Constitution or the idea of the 10 Commandments. The idea is there's right and wrong, there's good and evil. And what Pace was good at was what is called today lawfare, where they will go after people based on very very small infractions of the letter of the law and treat them as if they're huge. And they'll prosecute those who they don't like, and they will ignore prosecuting those that are on their side. And so pretty much that's how, totalitarian regimes generally operate. If they don't like you, they'll measure your doorway and say it's an inch too short. You got to tear down the house or something like that. And that really actually does happen.
Mm-hmm. And do you think we're on the verge of a totalitarian society, just like you explained in the book, or is it like, are we far away? Are we close? Or is it just like, is that not going to happen?
Well, not to be a downer, but we're heading in that direction if we're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not necessarily a guarantee, but the technology that we're creating now, the cell phones, the smart houses, the people, the robots you talk to have things done. They're nice things. They're convenience, but they also open us up to 24-hour surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
Your cell phone hears everything you say. And so if you were to create an artificial intelligence that would flag every time you made a political comment, for example, then suddenly that can score against you if you're on the wrong side. Also, today, if you drive your car, it's noted somewhere where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
If you drive someplace that they don't want you to drive, then in fact, they don't want you to drive cars in the first place. But the other factor is, if you speed, it knows that you're driving too fast. And so there's a very short step between that and having cars that you're not allowed to drive. They will drive you where you're going to go and based on their terms. And that is what Pace was ultimately doing.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, in terms of ranks when it comes to color, and what are the ranks in terms of color? Like, say, what color is the lowest rank and what color is the highest rank?
Well, as I remember, that wasn't necessarily all that creative. I think the gold was the higher rank. So the buildings would have tinted windows. Some would be tinted gold. Some would be tinted kind of a silvery color, navy blue. It wasn't always that specific, but the idea being that everybody lives in the same houses, but they would have a different color wall set, and the windows would be tinted, whatever that color that was. And if you go to a government building, you're following a floating disc that will lead you where you're going. And so they say, well, this is a big building. You don't know where you're going, so this will take you to the office you want. And so, that might be helpful, but it's not going to let you go anywhere else either.
Wow. Okay. So it's almost like you have to plan one trip and one trip only. It's not like you have to go to like 2, 3, 4, different departments. And it sounds to me they're not programmed for it. It's just one at a time.
Well, that's pretty much the way it was organized, or more to the point, they wanted to make sure that you didn't go where you were not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone was in Pace, they would be operating under a different set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be guided. They could just walk anywhere and the doors would open for them, but the doors wouldn't open for you if you didn't have one of those discs allowing it to open, that sort of thing.
And that's really interesting too, especially about the Railist project, and also the Turing File series, especially with Romo as well too. Maybe just give a quick recap on one of them, and also compare it to the Railist project, and what can we expect in the future as well.
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked that, because the book that's coming out on the 15th is called Ramo's Mission, and it follows Ramo's return. Because now it's 20 years later, Ramo has come back from the ice cap, and he came back in relatively bad repair. And the captain's daughter is now 20 years older, and she is still his friend, but she didn't expect that he would ever come back. but she fixes him up. And he basically came back with a surprise. He just said, I found something on the ice cap that I can't share with just anybody. And what it was the ability to travel to different planets that could be galaxies away.
Wow.
Because somewhere on the ice on the top of Mars was a crashed spaceship, which had quantum entanglement tunnels in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could turn them on and turn them off and go to different worlds. And they didn't find out where many of those were, but some of them were very dangerous, obviously, or that's the way it would have to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book, essentially, one of the characters of lesser intelligence accidentally walks into a prison that's basically run by these very stern robots called the drones.
Okay.
And it's on an asteroid, like basically frozen over. And the story is how they ultimately end up getting out of that situation.
Wow. Okay. And we're certainly looking forward to what you got as well, too. We'd love to have you back in 2021 talk more about it. And where can we find all your books at, the Turing File series, including Rommel's Journey and also Rayless Project and more? Where can we find all your books at?
Well, they're all on Amazon under my name, Paul J. Joseph, but they're also available on Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, and Apple Books. Those are all, and of course, the paper copies you can get on Amazon. All the rest are in ebook form. Most of my stories are also on Audible or Findaway Voices, because I've narrated over 1 million words, to write all from the original series onward. I got a little catching up to do for the last 2 books, but they will be available. And once again, Ramo's Mission, where they go to this desert world of Atonia, and they meet a great artificial intelligence in the sky. I think that's the one that's coming out now. And I'm already working on the 7th.
Oh, wow. You just keep going and going with the help of Ramos and Rayless as well, too. That's just so amazing. We're here with author, science fiction writer, Paul Joseph here on the Mike Wagner Show. Paul, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Just keep us up to date. And just a few more things here. And besides, we are talking about what can we expect from you, and who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Well, that's a good question. Biggest influence in my career? I would have to say it's life itself, because I'm going to share something with you. Almost every one of my books is at least partially biographical, meaning that if I go through a bad experience, I'll find a way to turn it into something bigger. Like, for example, an argument could be an interplanetary war where the different people are planets and armies and stuff like that. And so if I experience something good or bad, I'll find a way to incorporate it into the larger picture, and I will write about that.
Okay. That sounds very good. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, if you're talking about writers, my advice to anyone who wants to write is to write. Pretty much that's the golden rule. Start writing, because you're not going to get any better at writing if you don't write. That's just simple. And it's surprising how that works. Some people will say read a lot, which isn't necessarily the only way to do it. It is good to read. I'm not knocking reading. In fact, I suggest that you do. But I would say that it's more important to get used to writing and to get used to putting phrases together and following your instincts.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important as well, too. Once again, we're with author, science fiction writer, Paul Joseph here on the Mike Wagner Show. Paul, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. Keep in touch. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
Okay, once again, my website is www.pauljosephbooks.com. I'm also on Facebook, and I believe that's Facebook is under Paul Joseph Author. And all my books are available on Amazon and Kobo and Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Play. They're all in ebook form. They're also available on Audible as podcasts, and they're available on Findaway Voices, which is basically the type of service. And paper copies are available on Amazon.com. And I have a nice page there. You can also take a shortcut to all that by going to BookBub and typing in my name, Paul J. Joseph, and go to my profile, and they will link to any of the books in any platform that you like.
We certainly will do so. Again, Paul, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. I learned a lot from you. Don't forget to keep in touch, and you've been absolutely terrific.
Okay, thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.